Hello, warring spouses, and welcome to the episode. Today, we are taking a bite of the roses.
I was very excited when we got the invitation to go see this movie early. Thank you for Searchlight's Pictures. I'm excited for people to see this movie. It has a great cast. We'll get into it. Before that, make sure you're following us. Subscribe, follow, leave a review. All those amazing things. We are doing a new show over on Patreon where it's a bite of the week and we talk about pop culture news, things that stuck out to us, and we gab on the mic about it. But if that interests you, go over there, check it out. $1 a month, get free stuff.
We'd love $1. Please, may we have $1? Yeah. And huge spoiler alert, of course, we're going to be talking about the entire plot of The Roses. So let us officially take a bite of The Roses, written by Tony McNamara and directed by Jay Roach. When the tides of their individual fortunes turn with one freak storm, Ivy and Theo's once simple life becomes complicated, revealing that these roses truly have thorns.
Ooh, I was waiting for you to do something with thorns.
That's right. And I also have some other gardening references later.
Love.
So what did you think of The Roses?
I liked it a lot. I think this movie feels like a 2000s movie. I don't know how to describe it other than that, meaning that so Jay Roach, who did this movie, it did Meet the Fockers, Meet the Parents, had a stint of political movies like The Campaign and Bombshell and stuff like that. But it does feel like that. It feels like those movies, which I really much appreciated. I'm glad that we're still getting movies like this in theaters, but I liked it. I think it was a little darker than I thought it would be, but it was still really, really funny. And this cast, if it wasn't for Olivia Coleman and Benedict Cumberbatch as the leads, I don't know how it would have worked in this particular story, but I liked it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I think that, it's funny because these types of movies, I'm not really a huge fan of. So the only way that I can explain it is the everything goes wrong movies, right? It's like constantly getting knocked down. You're watching these characters kind of just flounder and fall apart. And, there's a lot of revenge in this movie and taking things out on each other. And so it does feel very reminiscent of the Meet the Fockers and Meet the Parents, or even just There's Something About Mary, where the main character just keeps getting the crap kicked out of them. And so that happens here as well. And so usually I don't like it, but I think your point of the cast is what's really important here, because they are so good playing off of each other as our leads here. They are definitely the strongest part of this movie. Yeah,
and it's fun to see these British expats in America, so there's some comedy there. But the story itself, I had never read War of the Roses. I remember seeing War of the Roses, which I believe had Michael Douglas and
Kathleen Turner.
Been a very long time since I've seen it. And it's different, the story, but it's the same story. The things that happen, I believe it's a medical diagnosis that kind of puts everything into motion. And this one, it's more of careers that one takes off, the other one gets way down there. So I thought that was interesting. I think that's more relatable-ish now than the medical diagnosis, I think, just because we live in a capitalistic society where, our jobs and our money mean a lot. And so having these two very, very funny actors play off of each other in this and get that spiral down to just hating each other was a lot of fun to see.
And I think there's something to be said, at least for me, in my eyes, I see them both as really dramatic actors, right? So this really is a dramedy. There is a lot of chance for comedy in this. And I think that they do a really good job leading that comedy, because the thing is that, like you said, this could be very, very dark, but if they weren't there to lighten it in their deliveries, I think while the situations make you cringe, they also make you laugh a little bit. And I think that's really important. Otherwise, it would feel like you're just getting beat over the head with the same thing over and over again.
I did like that. From the trailers, it makes it seem like most of the movie is the hating part. And I was actually surprised how most of the movie wasn't the hating part. It was getting to that. It starts off with them in that therapy session and, her calling him a cunt and stuff like that. So it was really funny and kind of jarring to see our characters at the lowest part. But most of the movie was actually kind of sweet in a lot of ways. And then when they eventually start turning at each other, it happens really in the bulk, like last 30 minutes of the movie, which I actually kind of appreciated because I liked all of that leading up to the revenge, because I think seeing the revenge felt a little more sad because we got to see them really love each other, but saw them distancing themselves.
Yeah.
I did read something that Benedict Cumberbatch had said something like, you know, it's a movie about seeing people so much in love with each other and then hating each other. They skip the middle ground with that. And I do feel that in the movie. And it was actually fun to watch because you just go from, oh, they love each other to, whoa, how did we get to this part? And that's kind of the point of the movie. If you don't take care of the middle part, you're just going to be in the bad part.
Well, you know, there is also sort of this time jump that happens, right? There's like a 10-year time jump and a 3-year time jump.
I think it's like 20 years.
Throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that middle part, I think, is where we're not seeing them fall apart a little bit day by day. But, you know, it's interesting because the way the character is written, and I've been trying to figure out whether I think that this is a strength or a weakness of the film, is that they're very good at communication, especially in the beginning. So much so that sometimes it feels like they are taking lines directly from like a couples therapy book. And it's almost like, wow, if couples that are this good at communication are falling apart, what hope is there for those that aren't good with communication? But I love the self-awareness that they have, because I think that if you're watching it, you could see yourself in both the characters at the same time. And the fact that like they say things like, I really think I need to apologize to you, you know, or even when they're talking to themselves, they're like, just apologize. You could do it. You know, you'll be fine. And it's so much about communication, but ultimately how they fall apart. It's almost like, is there communication for communication's sake or communication with intent?
A lot of communication. Well, I think what's interesting about that is that, yes, they're good at communicating, but they're not good at responding to that communication. And I think that's the key. Because specifically in a moment that I'll point out that I really remember is when a lot of shit is going wrong. And this is when they're like fully in the hatred train without having yet said it in the film. And they're flying back from New York. They went off to, you know, just kind of cool off and like have their time. It didn't go well at all. But Olivia Coleman's character goes into the bathroom and she's very upset with, like, she clearly sees something's wrong. And she's like, just go in there and apologize. Go in there and apologize. And she does apologize, but then he responds badly. So it just constantly snowballs after that. But what makes this movie fun, though, is that, like, yes, it is kind of sad to see this lovely couple, especially how they met. It's such like, not even a meet cute. It's like a meet sex. It's just so like romantic and only in like, I don't know, like an architect and a chef could do. But then to see them kind of hate each other is like, oh, but the cast, the supporting characters in this movie really make it so funny. So funny, and just add more layers to this. I was actually really surprised that Ncuti was in this, Ncuti Gatwa, doing an American accent, which I at first didn't clock, but then I clocked it.
Yeah, I didn't either until he said something at this like horrendous dinner party that they throw, where he says something like, yeah, with her accent, I can't tell if she's like happy or sad or something along those lines. And I was like, wait a minute. Is he not British in this?
Yeah.
But the supporting cast is really incredible. I think, you know, one of the standout roles in this is Amy, played by Kate McKinnon. She has this bizarre role. Basically, she is with Andy Samberg, but all she wants to do is have sex with Theo, Benedict Cumberbatch's character. And there's one of the most awkward hugs that I think has ever existed in cinema, where she's like rubbing her crotch against his leg or something.
Don't spoil
like
it. Don't spoil that. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know what's funny about her character is that, like, I couldn't separate SNL from her character. I very much felt like it was an SNL character that they just like plopped into this movie. It worked, but it was like, I don't believe that you're straight. You know, like, I'm like, she reminded me of what's the skit that she did? It was with the kittens.
Oh, yeah.
That's the character. I don't know why, but this is the character. Or the like the farm stand.
That one.
Yeah,
I
with
think
A.D.
Bryant.
Yes, that is the character that I see in this movie that she's playing.
Yeah. You big meat boy, Colin?
Yeah.
That's the meat salesman.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yes, I agree with that. I mean, and I think that's the thing with Kate McKinnon is that she kind of sits solidly in one character archetype. They just put her in different scripts and in different costumes. But I still think you needed that levity. I also think with these characters, there's some sort of comment here about America, right? Because Theo and Ivy, they move from England, obviously, over to America, and these are their American friends, and they're obsessed with guns, and they wear puffer vests, and they're...
When we first meet them, their American friends, they meet them at a gun range.
Yeah.
And it is so uncomfortable, but it's like, oh my God, this is what America is like, and I hate that people think this.
And the couples are like, the American couples are almost like getting off at the gun range.
Yeah, they all are. They all get off on like really weird things. Kate McKinnon's character is married to Andy Samberg's character, which I'm like iffy with Andy Samberg, especially his humor. It could either be super broy or just like, it's fine, like fart humor. I actually really liked the lane he was in this movie because Kate McKinnon's character was so wild and out there. Andy Samberg's character, Barry, was kind of almost tamed, but just like reacting to Kate McKinnon's like, oh, we don't do that. Let's like, oh, we haven't talked about that yet. So it was fun to see him restraint a little bit. That.
The other couple in this are Sally, played by Zoe Chao, and Rory, played by Jamie Demetriou. Zoe Chao, I think, is just an incredible actor in whatever she's in. And Jamie Demetriou, you might know him from Fleabag. He is Natasha Demetriou's brother, who played Nadia in What We Do in the Shadows. So they're kind of this incredible sibling team. And they're also architects, right? Theo, our main character, is an architect. And so I think they kind of represent the competitive nature of America and how they'll kind of kick you when you're down, but with a smile on their faces.
He had said something where, because he's designing this like maritime museum for the town that they live in, which I want to live there because it looks absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. But he's talking to them about it, and he's just like, to his face saying, I hope it fails. And it was so bizarre and uncomfortable that I'm like, what is this character? Because he disappears for the entire movie and then comes back at the end. And I was like, this character is weird. He's so
super
wild.
Weird.
Yeah. But I really liked, I think the cast was so good. It was so much fun. And that's, I think, what makes me say it's like a 2000s movie, because the cast is so stacked and they all have these like weird, quirky things about them. And there's such characters in the movie that just like, oh, you could point out like, this is my favorite part of the movie, that hug that Kate McKinnon does. Like, those are the moments that like you remember from these types of movies. And I like that we're still doing those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's those cringe-inducing moments. It takes kind of things that can happen in real life and just turns it up to make it farcical. And that's what makes it enjoyable. Mm-hmm. Right. What was that?
I said farcical.
Oh my.
Yeah.
But, I think that there's a lot also being said about just being in a couple in general and how complicated it is. To take the name of the movie, The Roses, there's that saying of, in every couple, there's a flower and a gardener. And in this one, it seems like they're both just flowers, right? And no one is really listening or tending to each other's needs.
Well, I do want to say, before we get to that part, yes, I agree. Like, it's interesting because I think it's apparent as the movie goes on, because you think that Olivia Coleman's Ivy is very much like, I'm good with being like a stay-at-home mom. I'm going to bake all these things. I used to be a chef. I'm totally fine with this. Secretly, she has this like thing that could get big, and it does get big. And his job disappears in an instant, but they have kids, and these kids are so bizarre. And this is the thing that like, I always think about like couples that have kids, of like, what things are you passing on to your children that aren't healthy and are healthy? And it's like, he passed on like being an amazing athlete, but like, was that healthy for them to grow up in? But like, these kids are bizarre.
Yeah. Well, you could see in the beginning, right? It shifts because when she's the stay-at-home parent, they have no self-control when it comes to food. They're just going to eat and they're going to be wild and have fun and don't care about things.
But have fun.
Right? And so then when she becomes famous and then he becomes a stay-at-home parent, then they become these workout machines. And I'm sitting there going, is there some school in Miami where kids can go and be athletes at 13 or 14 years old?
I think, yeah, there's scholarships. Some colleges like accept young kids for scholarships. Yeah.
I guess so.
It's gross.
Yeah. But they're robots. And so, but that's the thing is that, and I think while there was that deal of she was going to go off and pursue this culinary career and he was going to stay at home, they never checked in with each other.
No.
Right?
Well, that's that middle part that just never happened.
Right. So she was off living her dream and he was home taking care of the kids, but only in his one way of being able to take care of them. And so that's where they kind of became these robot children.
Yeah.
But I think that, is interesting. This movie made me sit back and it kind of makes you reflect on yourself a little bit. I think, how do I react in fights? What pieces of my parents do I have? And so it's interesting that this sort of comedic dramedy mayhem could actually make you sit and think like, damn, are we all just messed up?
Well, those are the sign of a good movie and a good writing, right? And I do want to point out though, the wardrobe, whoever did the wardrobe in this movie, Olivia Coleman specifically, I want all of her outfits. I don't they were amazing. They were flowy. The patterns, the use of lines going different ways. I was like mesmerized this entire movie. But yeah, I think the movie does a good job of making you laugh at them being like, oh, this is like an exaggerated version of like stuff that happens in relationships, but it is kind of gross. Like, I do hate the person I'm with, but I don't hate the person I'm with. Like, that's like an exaggerated version of it, right? Because they're like, no, I do hate you, but I still love you. It's so bizarre to see it in like a scale like that, because it's like, yeah, I guess you are sharing your life with this person. You're not going to love every aspect of them, but it's how you respond to it.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's definitely something to sit and think about. But I also think of taking this movie, it seems so these are like the universal themes of the movie, right? And I think it could take place at any time. But there are certain things in this movie that I think really solidify it in the 2020s, right? As far as the use of social media for both of their careers, how it takes one down and builds the other one up. The idea of sort of like this Alexa that controls their house, which is then used in their fight back and forth. So it's interesting that like, I think it's like the plot itself feels like an early 2000s movie, but some of the details keep it firmly here. But I think the what they're going through is very universal as a couple. Yeah,
which was very smart for them to do. And I like that they clearly used the original as like a starting point and kept all of that, but then made it their own. And I do like that for remakes. I think like if we're going to do remakes, this is a smart way to do it. And it's been since the 80s the last time we had it. But yeah, I think it's really good. I don't really want to talk about the final part of the movie. I think that people need to experience that because it is quite wild. As soon as like the dinner party happens, that's when it starts getting like, oh, this is this is a lot. This is a sign of like there's no return from this. I'm very excited for people to see this movie. I think it's going to be one of those like staples. It's a good date night movie. It's a good like, let's bring our friends to go see this. Yeah, I think this was a surprise. I didn't actually see the trailer before we got invited to it. Saw the trailer and I was like, oh, this seems like fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun. Like we said, the cast is incredible. And I think that overall, it'll give you a lot to talk about and also teach you how to not throw a dinner party.
Yes. Yes. And also keep EpiPens if you have allergies. Keep
raspberries. Yes.
Keep them nearby.
If you all end up seeing the roses, let us know what you think. You're in for a wild ride for sure. So buckle your seatbelts, kids.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna get rough.
Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.